Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be keeping an eye on two storm systems over the next several days. The first one will be happening right around the Super Bowl weekend time frame, and things are starting to look better on the system here if you're a snow lover in the eastern US. We'll be having an update on that. We'll also be keeping an eye on a second storm system late next week. It could be taking a little bit more of a different track here, comparably of what we've been seeing over the last couple weeks as well. Before we get started, if you guys do like weather-related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do this type of stuff here on this channel here all the time. Plus, we'll be having more updates on these storm systems as well over the next several days, so definitely stay tuned for more updates as well. So we'll get started with the GFS model, and really it's been quiet across most of the US over the last few days here. Definitely a nice break here. There's actually a storm system moving across parts of the Great Lakes region, bringing in some snow. It's also going to bring in some colder air as well. But the system behind that, this is going to be a stronger Alberta Clipper system. That's going to take us more of a similar track, but it's got a little bit more cold air to work with. And this is where we begin to watch of how this setup is going to evolve. So you got an Arctic front in place here. There's a piece of energy back here, and then your cold front is pretty much your second piece of energy here. And then at some point, a third one may try to pop up behind it as well. Plus, we do have a pretty strong high. A 1042 millibar high is certainly a strong high. And that's definitely an Arctic high as well. And then we got another storm system that'll try to develop somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico. And eventually, there might be a possibility for a decent storm system for parts of the eastern U.S. Still a lot of uncertainty with this one here, but some of the latest trends have been looking a little bit better with this storm system as well. Of course, with the GFS model, it's one model run, one solution. So let's check out some of the other models. Let's look at into the Canadian model. It's pretty similar of how the first two Alberta Clipper systems go. Arctic front starts to move in. You kind of get two pieces of energy coming together a little bit further south here. And now, honestly, with the precip type map with the K model, I think this is a little bit of a flaw run because it has two different lows, and I think that's part of the convection low bias here. You do notice here with the second low a little bit further to the east, it has convection or heavier precipitation there, and that's kind of making it think there's a low there, which is pretty unlikely. But it has another low moving over New York City. But honestly, I think this is a little bit of a an outlier run here, and I don't think this will happen here. But then again, still some absurdity here. And we'll check out the European model for a preference, and pretty similar over the next few days here. But it's not really strong with the of how the system is going to really evolve here. It doesn't do a whole lot of anything here as well. Let's check out the GFS ensembles here, and you'll notice here that it does have a mean out there, but it's not a very strong mean. Plus, it does show some precipitation for parts of the eastern U.S., so it does have some snowfall potential for parts of the eastern U.S., which if we do check out the ensemble precip type at around this time, you'll notice here that you do have some of them do show a pretty good storm system, some of them not so much. So then again, it's still quite a bit of uncertainty with the system here as well. But let's kind of talk about some of those factors there. And really the one way to talk about them factors is what's going on in the upper levels, which is pretty important as well of how the system here is going to evolve. So right now our pieces of energy we're watching for is currently up in Alaska. Now I'm not sure if they do weather balloon data. I know there's surface observations, but I'm not 100% sure if they do weather balloon data up there up Alaska. Honestly, do not know. But if they do, we might be able to get these systems here sampled a little bit earlier as well. And at that point, models get a good dose of some of that data, and they can try to push out a little bit more of an accurate look to them of how the system could evolve as well. But that's an area we're watching here, and that is going to be moving to US, and that's also going to be how the system could evolve. So you'll notice here these pieces of energy go on this northwest flow here you got this ridge here off of the west coast of California. You'll notice over time this is going to push a little bit further to the west as well. So here we go again. So really at this point here, there's a lot going on here. So for what I notice here is that if we kind of back this up a little bit, there's several areas to watch here. So you got one energy here, one here. Here's another one. That's actually part of your Arctic front there. This is your Arctic frontal boundary here. And you also got some activity going on in the Gulf of Mexico. So there are several things going on here of how this storm system could potentially evolve. And really what's been the trend here for over the last several model runs is that this third piece of energy has been trending faster, which is able to at least catch up with the other pieces of energy that's going on a little bit further south here, and that kind of leads to a bigger storm system. But something else I do notice here is that there's actually another piece of energy coming in behind it as well. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to catch up in time. But if these pieces of energy here a little bit south here were able to trend slower, this piece of energy up here can phase with the several ones a little bit earlier. And hey, we'll make it a deeper low pressure system a little bit earlier on, and that may lead to a better opportunity for more snow for parts of the eastern U.S. And maybe for the fourth one may try to catch up in time as well. We'll have to see. Trends is certainly still key in this point of time here. But you can see here with the Canadian model, you do get this bowling ball type of feature here. And you also got some energy going on out ahead of that bowling ball as well. That's where your low is going to develop, somewhere out in there. And here comes your fourth piece of energy rolling through parts of the Lower Ohio Valley at that time as well. Let's check out the GFS model. It's going to be pretty similar. You got them pieces of energy going down along the northwest flow. And you will notice here it's certainly hard to tell a little bit of what's going on here. So here's your Arctic front boundary. Here's piece of energy number one. Here's your other one. It's a little bit further up north. And you do have some energy going on in the Gulf of Mexico. You kind of have to watch here, see how this kind of evolves. And you see you got this big trough type of feature here going on. And the low is going to develop somewhere right in here, just out ahead of that bowling ball is where we're going to see that piece of energy, or I mean a low pressure system, going to form. And you can see here at this point here, it starts to become negatively tilt as well. When it comes negatively tilt, that's when you get to see a big storm system at that point as well. But it really only takes one of these pieces of energy for speed to change, either if it's going to be faster or slower. It can change of how the system is going to evolve here. So there's certainly a lot of possibilities in reality of how this is going to go. So then again, there's still a lot of uncertainty with this system here because you got several pieces of energy trying to work together a little bit. If it doesn't necessarily work out, we might not see a whole lot of anything out of this. Here's a European model for a preference and some similarities to some of the other model guidance. You can see here, piece of energy number one right here. This is part of the Arctic front. Number two is right here back in the Rockies. Number three is a little bit further up north. And then you got another one down to parts of the Gulf of Mexico as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how some of these pieces of energy are going to phase with each other. And then you can see here at this point here, right by Sunday afternoon, most of your pieces of energy do combine together into one big storm system as well. Which I know by the precipitation type map, it's not very impressive, but honestly, of how these are going to evolve, I think it's going to look a little bit better than what the precipitation type maps shows. And here's your fourth one coming in behind, which honestly I think that's not going to catch up in time unless that trends faster or something like that. But then again, still a lot of uncertainty with the system here. And you do notice here, if you've been paying attention a little bit further west, here's another piece of energy just off the coast of British Columbia. that's our next storm system to watch. And you notice here, it's actually much further west than some of these other pieces of energy have been going on over the last few weeks. So let's go back to the GFS model. So really after that system there, I think we're going to get a little break from this cold and snowy pattern. And here comes your big system here moving across the western U.S., which they have been pretty quiet over the last couple of weeks. And something I want to note here is that really by middle of next week, we got a ridge of high pressure out here. So you actually got a ridge that's built in parts of the eastern U.S. So what that's going to do, that's going to keep this system's track here further northwest. It's going to take more of a Midwest track versus of what we've been seeing over the last several weeks. Most systems has been taking more of kind of an East Coast track. Well, this time, it's going to be more of a central U.S. type of storm. Another thing I want to note is that we got a couple things going on here. We got a strong low coming out of the Rocky Mountains at the same time. We got a strong high pressure system. And in between here, it's going to be quite windy. You'll notice here in between these two, you got pretty close isobars. That's going to be an indication that things are going to be pretty windy towards the surface as well. And you can certainly see here how the GFS wants to take with this system, which it has been flopping around a lot. So maybe take the precipitation type map as a grain of salt. However, there is pretty good support with this as well. The only differences here from the models is how the track or how the system kind of evolves as well. You also do notice here off the East Coast, you got this big ridge out there. So more than likely, if that's going to be the case, the system here is going to take more of a northwestward track as well. We'll also have to pay attention to the warm sector. Severe weather chances may try to return as well with this system. Now here's the Canadian model, and it's been a little bit more consistent than the other models, and the way it wants to take it, it's pretty similar to the GFS overall. It's a little bit more of a stronger system though, and whenever that occurs, it has a more northwestward track here. But either way, what they both have in common is a pretty good storm system that can bring impacts for parts of the central, even for parts of the eastern U.S. as well. And here's the European model here, which it's going to be pretty quiet over the next several days here. Early next week, it's generally going to be pretty quiet for most of the U.S. But there's your storm system, and the European model's been really jumping around with this system here as well. But it does take a very similar track as well. The only difference is about it that the low itself is much weaker as well. So there's still some uncertainty with the system here, but either way, it definitely seems like there's going to be a storm system sometime late next week here. And lastly, we'll check out the GFS ensembles. And you'll notice here that almost every member has some type of storm system out there. But you do notice here that some of them, how the storm system track and how it evolves is a little bit different by each ensemble member. So then again, there's still some uncertainty with the system here. However, there is a pretty strong agreement that we are going to see a storm system as well. And this could bring a pretty good snowfall event, quite a bit of wind, a decent amount of rain, and maybe a chance for some strong storms as well. And that's the threats I'm kind of keeping an eye on the system here as well. We'll definitely have more updates on the system here over the next several days. But anyways, guys, that's all we got today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button if you do like my channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put in the comment section down below. I heard you guys questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.